Welcome to the Hyper Growth Zone podcast. This is your go-to resource for personal growth, mastering communication, and influencing and persuasion techniques that will help you unleash the full potential of yourself and others. Here is your host, Alex Morgan.
Welcome everyone to another episode of the Hyper Growth Zone podcast. My name is Alex Morgan and I'm a master trainer of hypnosis and NLP. So welcome to this episode, and we're going to take some concepts actually from hypnosis and NLP so you can really change your thinking here. So set an intention now as you're listening that you're going to get some really good ways to change your thinking, and we can easily do that because we have the ability to reframe situations or events or the content of something or the context of something. And if we can reframe it, then it will change the meaning. So we can use this superpower of reframing, and there's plenty of different ways that we can really use to unlock it so we can think big or think bigger. Because imagine how much you could change your life when you start to think differently. So really set an intention to do that. And so we'll go over some different ways of how you can look at things differently to really change the meaning that you give to something. And the first one is something that we touched on before. A lot of people, they think they're failing. They think, wow, I have so much failure, or they have a fear of failure. Well, if you could change the context that that's in, or you can change the content of what actually is happening, then that can change the whole meaning of that experience. So let's say that you failed at something, or you're looking at something like you failed at something, as an example. However, what if you change the content to that as actual feedback instead of failure, where you're not actually failing at anything? You're either learning from it because you got feedback, or you're growing from it. So you can take what happens and you can use that as valuable feedback so you can do even better next time, because there is no failure. There's only feedback. This is actually one of the presuppositions of NLP. And if you change your thinking and accept this suggestion or this kind of assumption that there's no failure, there's only feedback, you'll see your results totally change. Because really, if you're doing something, why would you have to think that you would fail? That's the thing with setting goals and really reframing your mind and giving yourself this superpower. You're not having any failure in your life. You can just now think of different ways after you gathered the feedback to do it and to do better next time and to achieve success next time. So there is no failure, there's only feedback. So that's one reframe that you can use. So anytime you're doing something, take what happens as feedback. This is what people who are excellent at what they do. They either give feedback to themselves, or they find feedback from other people, or if they do something and it doesn't get the exact result that they want, they pivot or they tweak it just a bit to give themselves that feedback so they can do much better. So they reframe it in their mind so then they can have a different result next time. Because that's the thing. If you're in charge of reframing your mind, then you're in charge of your mind, and therefore you're in charge of your results. And anyone you work with or any people that you come across, you want them to think that they're in charge of their mind and their results. If both of you have this empowerment, then imagine what kind of results you can get. So think, there's no failure, there's only feedback. That's one way that you can really reframe your mind to bring you exactly what it is you want. And another one is, this is something that I teach the first day of any training that I have, is many people, they think, well, I'm learning all this new information. However, what if I have some confusion, or what if I feel really confused? Well, you can change the meaning of that as well. Instead of thinking in terms of confusion, I mean, how many times have you learned something and right after learning it, you think, God, I was confused before. I didn't know exactly what to do. I didn't know how to solve that. I didn't know how to get that result. Confusion leads to new learnings. So any time that I start a training, I tell students that it is okay to be confused. You're going to learn many things during this training that are going to change the way you think. They're going to push you outside of your comfort zone, and you may experience confusion, and that's completely normal. Confusion only means you're about to learn something new and think in a whole new way. So it's okay to be confused. It's okay to feel like you don't get something right away. If you keep at it and you change the meaning of that confusion to learning something new and having new possibilities and new opportunities, then guess what? You're going to get a totally different result. So confusion, all that is doing is that is leading to new learning. So anytime you feel confused in the future, let your mind just change that. I'm learning something new. I'm going to break through a boundary soon. I'm going to achieve something new all because I feel a little bit of confusion. And the next one is a lot of people, they go through life and they think that they're stuck. They're in these stuck states. All that means is that you're in an unresourceful state. So if you really want to get into resourceful states, you can listen to one of the episodes of how you can control your state, one of my earlier episodes, with total and unlimited confidence. So if you're feeling stuck, all that means is there is another more successful way to do what you're currently doing. So if you do something different, you're essentially changing the content. You're changing the whole situation, and that's going to bring you a different result. Why would you keep trying to do something the same way over and over and over if it's not bringing you the result that you want? So let's give an example. So something like procrastination. This is a stuck state. I work with many people where they procrastinate, and it doesn't really matter what they're procrastinating on. The first thing that we need to realize is if you start to feel something different instead, then that's going to get you off of that state of procrastination. So if you start to feel something different instead, remember, you can actually control how you feel internally. You can control your state. So if you're procrastinating, all that means is you're in an unresourceful state. Now, being totally motivated, there's kind of a gap there. So it's hard to go right from procrastination in a stuck state to totally motivated. So you need to take a few steps along the way. So maybe you start to feel a bit of energy, and that helps you get off of procrastination. And that'll get you to start leaning more towards motivation. So soon enough, after you get off of that procrastination and you feel something instead, maybe then after that energy, you feel something like determination. Then once you're determined, you're motivated. So you can even reframe how you feel in your mind, and this will change the whole content of the situation. Or if you change the context, because maybe you procrastinate with one thing, but you have a really good strategy doing something else. So maybe if you do it in that strategy, and a strategy is essentially something you do in your mind. So if you bring that feeling from a different context into your procrastination strategy, next thing you know, you'll be totally motivated. So when you're stuck, it essentially means that you're about to have new possibilities. It doesn't mean that you have to stay in an unresourceful state over and over again. It's time for new possibilities, new opportunities, new solutions, maybe meeting new people, doing something a different way, feeling something different. So that's another way to easily reframe your mind, using that superpower of reframing so you can change your thinking and change the whole reality of your life. The next one is a lot of people, they have burnout. So instead of thinking of something as burnout and working yourself until you burn out, think of it as recharging. You're recharging along the way. So when you are pushing yourself to do more and more, it doesn't mean you have to burn out. Take some time along the way to recharge. Many people, they do hypnosis for things like burnout and stress. So if you want help with this specific thing, go ahead and reach out to me. All my contact information is going to be in the description of the episode. So if you can think you're burning out, and guess what? You can then think recharge. This will tell you to stop. This will make you do something differently. Because I know for me, anytime that I feel like I'm burning out, I just know it's time for a rest. I need to recharge in some way, whether that's walking outside, laying down, taking a nap, meditating, listening to a hypnosis, reading, anything else. You know what your patterns are. So anytime that you are doing something and you feel like it's leading to you being totally burned out, then you need to change. You need to recharge. So reframe this in your mind. Anything that's leading to burnout equals recharging. This will give you much more energy. This will get you different results. For example, people that do hypnosis for something like burnout, instead of feeling stress, burnout and stress, these things are in you for a long time, and then all of a sudden one day they're right in front of your face. They don't just creep up on you. They've been there. However, you don't notice them until it's really, really bad. So if you can recharge along the way, and you can do this reframe in your mind, then you won't ever get to the point where you feel like you have to burn out or you have to have all this stress and carry it and take a huge break. So recharge along the way. And the next one is overthinking. So you can change overthinking and think of it as a way that you're just searching for solutions. So use your thoughts when you're overthinking about something. Instead of overthinking about it and becoming overwhelmed and all of that, think of it as a way that you are getting closer to finding a solution. So the thinking about this particular thing may only mean you are searching for a solution and a better way, because we get what we think about. So if you're overthinking about something and it's not leading to the result that you want, use that overthinking in a good way and an efficient way to actually find a different solution. And if you can use this superpower where you're actually finding and searching for new solutions, imagine what you could achieve. Imagine what you would see, what you would hear, what you would feel, and what you would be saying and thinking to yourself instead. So each of these are different ways that you can reframe your mind. And when you're reframing, you're changing either the content of it or you're doing the same behavior in a different context, and it's going to lead you to a different result. And if you change one of those things, then it can change the whole meaning of what's going to happen. So instead of getting the result that you don't want, you're going to get the result that you do want. So there's no need to burn out, overthink, feel stuck, think of yourself as a failure, or have confusion. There's ways out of this, and there's easy ways out of this. All you have to do is make a small change in your thinking. And the great thing about changing your thinking is your unconscious mind, it loves repetition, and it needs repetition for a habit to be installed. So the more you reframe your thinking, the more you think not failure, feedback, the more you think not confusion, new learnings, or stuck and new possibilities, or burnout and recharge, or overthinking to searching for solutions, the more you reframe, the more your mind is going to get used to it, and you won't even have to consciously do it. Eventually, after a couple of weeks, your mind is going to be so used to having those reframes and so used to the new result that it is going to want more and more of them. That's the other thing. The unconscious mind, it operates with the principle of least effort. So if it starts to see success just by you doing a little change in your thinking, then it's going to want to continue that and keep bringing those results. So if you think good, your unconscious mind is going to want good in every area of your life. Not just personal, not just business, not just in your relationships, or not just in personal development or spirituality or with your family or health or fitness. It's going to want good in every area of your life. So think about these things. There's no need to overthink. Think in solutions, think in opportunities. That's the thing. Anything that you're thinking about, if you get stuck, you need to make sure that there's always another way that you can do it. That's the difference from people who are really successful and people who aren't. People who aren't, they get stuck, they do something a certain way, and they give up. They don't keep going. Or they see it as hard work. They're not reframing their mind. People who think in an excellent way or who are successful, they think, oh, I didn't get it right this time. However, I know another way to do it. Or I know someone that I can ask, and they'll give me feedback, and they'll help me get that new solution. So there always has to be a way to do it in a successful way to get the results you want. So any goal you have, make sure there's more than one way to get the result that you want. And if you want to be able to easily get results that you want, you can always do something like hypnosis. So reach out to me if you ever want to do a coaching package of hypnosis sessions. People often come for things that I just spoke about. If they're overthinking, if they're procrastinating, if they feel like they're burning out or they're stressed or they just feel stuck, confused, or they're having failure after failure. And it's okay. Reach out. Maybe you haven't told something like this to someone else before. However, the first step in really getting what you want is to change your thinking. And if you can change your thinking, then you're going to change how you see everything, how you hear everything, and how you feel in every situation. I'm sure you'd want to feel good. I know I would. So that's really it for this episode. These are easy ways that you can really reframe your mind. And these aren't the only one. You can reframe any situation. So anytime you're not getting what you want, reframe it and think, how can I make this better? How can I change my thinking in this situation to bring me a different result? How can I change the meaning of what just happened in this context? Or how can I change my behavior to get a different result? So think about that, and thanks so much for listening. And I hope everyone has a good holiday season and a happy new year. Wherever you're listening to this podcast episode, go ahead and leave an honest review. I'd love to hear your feedback, and that really helps this get into the minds of many other listeners. So thanks so much for listening, and I hope to see you on the next episode.